do your passion, then you are doing your dharma. Now I know in Indian families, there's only a few options: doctor, engineer, lawyer. There is so much more than that out there. You know, there's so much in the arts, so many different areas that we can focus on. So knowing that by following your heart, you are doing your dharma, and that's what Hinduism is about. Okay. And I know it takes a lot of strength to actually go against the tradition, but yes, that's also an aspect of that.
Yeah, and lawyer, doctor, that's nowhere in the Vedas, so you don't have to worry about that.
And many people don't know what they're passionate about. So exploring that is one of the key things in self-evolution, our journey towards God.
Interracial marriages. Basically, what happens during interracial marriages, there's sometimes a misconception of God as one, so, which is used as an excuse for conversion. So what you'll see happen sometimes is one family, a guy, maybe a Hindu guy, marries like a girl from a different religion, and what he'll say is, well, God is one. Hinduism preaches that God is one, so I can obviously just go to another path and follow another religion. And Hinduism actually does not suggest conversion. What happens, I believe personally, is that Hindus fail to see the beauty of Hinduism, and that's what makes them begin following other religious paths. I had this one time, somebody actually came up to me and asked me, like, what is Arati? And they do it, every Sunday, they do it all the time, and they have no idea what it is. Then I actually explained to them what it was, like what the diya signified, actually doing Arati, what it actually signified. And I saw a difference on that person's face after doing that. They felt it, because they knew what they were doing, and they actually chose which murtis they wanted to Arati, because they felt like I have a connection.
And there was meaning behind it,
Right.
And that's the key thing. And I think the problem is that we don't have enough knowledge of Hinduism, so that's why we don't value it as much. Because of course, if you don't know something as well, you're not able to value it.
You guys agree with that?
Premarital relationships. Marriage ceremonies give the couple the capacity to think about the consequences of their actions, so that they can decide what is right, what is wrong. Hinduism is the most open religion in the world. It gives us freedom of choice, and including marriage is a choice. Marriage initially does provide a sense of self-esteem and a desire for self-improvement, which is what Hinduism is all about. So you did not marry just for the sake of marrying. You married in order to evolve and become a better person.
Can you please elaborate on that? Because it's not the same in our religion, right? So I'd like to know more about it. Because it's not the same, especially for women, they do not have any self-esteem. And they do not have any, they have probably desire for self-improvement, but they don't get a chance to do that.
Now in today's media, right, you have a lot of misconceptions like, oh, I found the right one, the one true love, right? And that's totally emphasized in today's culture, but every relationship, even the best relationships, take a lot of work. Misunderstandings will happen, arguments will happen, but it's about working through those misunderstandings and arguments that give us kind of inner strength and the capacity to choose and to become a better person. I hope that helps.
I think also they're missing what a lot of people today are actually missing is the first word of that, which is self. What they do is they allow other people to judge who they are, what they are, how they feel about themselves, and the entire self aspect is lacking. And if that's actually, if that's concentrated on, I really feel that self-esteem is something that just comes from yourself, but you just have to kind of block everything else out and just go inside of you, which is actually the first step of yoga.
Interesting. Now, another thing that I did want to mention is that as we work on ourselves, because these days we tend to think that our partner will make us whole, will complete us. But by making sure that we are whole and complete inside, we can attract the right person. So instead of kind of being one with the other person, you are your own person, the other person is your own person. You've kind of shared two journeys rather than just your own journey. And that's what Hinduism marriage is on. Yes.
Actually, the marriage should be in the state of enlightenment only brings fulfillment. Recently, I saw Professor Puri on television. He said divorce rate is 50 or 60%.
Oh, yeah?
Actually, there is a Professor Puri from Wadhwa University. He taught psychology and all that. So he said actually divorce rate is 90% because people do not talk within our Indian community. Because in the state of ignorance, you have got only 5% of life. If you are living 5 senses and mind, you are living 5% of potential. And when you are entering into a relationship, you want 100% satisfaction. You have got only $5. And the other person of $5, you want $100 back. You can.
Yeah.
You only in the state of enlightenment, when you are living 7 states of consciousness, waking state, dreaming state and all, cosmic consciousness, God consciousness, unity consciousness, there you love the person as yourself.
Absolutely. Next question.
If I could jump back to one or two slides ago, you mentioned conversion in interracial marriages.
Okay.
I love my religion, I'm a Hindu, right? But if an outsider comes and says, you believe in Brahman, I believe in God, it's all the same God. What's the difference if you convert? I find this religion complex, I want to go to another religion. How would you address that to not try to keep them? It's like it is a free religion, but at the same time, they're going to be looking for the easy way out, and how do you put that over?
So actually, from yourself converting to another religion, are you saying? Or?
Sure, or somebody else converting.
Okay. Well, it's basically like being informed. I think a lot of people, because of the fact that they're not informed about their religion, they don't know why I do this, why I do that, who's Shiva, who's this, who's that. What other religions may offer is like, okay, this is what this person is, this is what this person does. This is how you should like live your life, like this, and this. And it actually offers a lot more. For example, we were speaking actually just last weekend. I was at a meeting and they were speaking about the fact that Hindu mandirs and stuff, just as an example, the Christian churches, they offer counseling services, these kind of services, those kind of. So they're really in there with the individual and the type of lifestyle they live, whereas Hindu, it's just go your darshan. So I think just with an improvement of that, then probably just being more personal and being informed as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so you're saying that knowledge is the most important factor.
Yes.
Yeah, oh definitely. Especially among youths. Just knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it.
And intention. As long as your intention
Definitely,
is pure, that is the key thing.
Okay.
Let's move on. Grihastha stage of life, which is the householder stage, was never downplayed by the ascetic ideal. Nearly all the rishis, believe it or not, were married men, and their wives were equally looked upon as exemplars of the highest virtue. Does anyone know about the 4 phases of life?
Do you want me to tell you?
Sure. Why not?
Even if you don't know the names, just what each one says.
It's the student, then married life, then householder, and then retirement, like and aesthetics.
And we're just like plants that way, right? We're continually evolving and going through different stages. In the same way, this Hinduism emphasizes that we go through different stages. Exactly the same thing. And this was a valued stage in the Hindu phase of life, in Hindu life in general. And has anyone heard of the Ardhanari?
Is it the woman?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Is it the woman? Married woman?
Yeah, you said it.
You said it, say it again? Say it out loud, come on.
Half man, half woman.
Excellent. So basically, if you go to the temple, right, you can see a picture with half woman, half man, Lord Shiva. And that emphasizes that these are the 2 polarities that do come together. And each are essential parts of life. So one is not downplayed over the other. Now this shows the absence in the Hindu mind of all notions about sex being impure. Marriage was not regarded as a concession to the weakness of human nature, nor was married life regarded as a morally inferior condition to virginity. And this is going back to what I stated earlier. Both husband and wife are servants to a higher ideal to which your individual inclinations are to be subordinated. That's the key thing with that. And this leads, and Garbhalambana is the actual stage of impregnation. Like each phase of Hinduism has a sacrament associated with it. There's many different sacraments, including the cutting of the hair of the first child, right? So the impregnation, conception is not regarded as a haphazard accident without any desire for the prodigy. So you came in with a specific intention of having a child, and there was nothing wrong with that. Abortion. All creatures are a manifestation of the Supreme Being. Abortion thwarts a soul in its progress towards God. A fetus is a living, conscious person deserving protection. And of course, Hinduism emphasizes that each person here and each creature on this planet is meant to move towards God. And so by getting rid of the fetus, you're preventing the fetus from having that same journey and fulfilling that purpose.
Generally, I agree with you, but what about for a woman who's raped? Would you not consider that a feasible alternative? I mean, she's looking, if she has that child, and she decides to keep the child, like every day she sees that child, she thinks she's not going to rape her. So what do you think there?
Based on the spiritual aspect, it's said that everything is done by God. It's His will, or her will. And what you can look at is karma. Perhaps there was something that person did in a previous life that made this happen. So the fact that she carries that child, she was destined to carry that child. She was destined to be the mother of that child, so that would lead to her actually having to take care of it. And even though it was the effect of something negative. More questions?
But let's say that she has that child and unfortunately she performs an abortion. Would that be destined to be like that too?
Absolutely.
One last question,
I have
and
to
then
say
we'll see.
absolutely.
One more question.
I just want to know if you guys know what, I guess, the Hindu definition of life is. So does life begin when, the sperm and the egg come together and that's the beginning of life? Or is it when the baby takes its first breath? I mean, how can you define what's a living being?
Life basically, there's no beginning and there's no end. Life is the soul. The outcome.
Cycles.
Right, so when does the fetus's soul take form, or, do you know what I mean? Because, I mean, in science, scientists and religious people are conflicting in many ways.
Yeah.
And one of the things that people